as soon as he can be. He had an appointment at 9:30, so. All right, everybody, please rise and join with me in reciting the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment? Adam said he was having safety inspections, so he wasn't able to be here this morning. But if you need any questions, if you have any questions, he'd be able to entertain them by phone. He apologizes for not being here. Like I said, Andy will be here. Dan, do you have anything from the animal shelter?
It would be nice if we get a hold of him. Texted her twice, asked her if she had any problems. She didn't answer my text. I tried to call her this morning. Her voicemail is full, so I was kind of hard to get a hold of her. So I'll check. I'll drive out this morning after the meeting and check on her. I mean, it's.
I'm sure there's a logical explanation.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Is that it?
Nope. Yeah.
Okay. Russ, do you have anything, sir?
I don't.
Augie, do you want to fill us in on what's going on exciting?
So finally replacing carpet after 40, 50 years, however long that is. So
Did you get 50-year carpet to go in there?
I got 100-year carpet for the taxpayers. No, Rick Cottle's doing a great job, and but we're trying to put everything back together and get everything hooked up. So we were up all day yesterday. He was working on it. So thank you for that. We're just basically a week away from the election, believe it or not. And so we're making preparations for that. We've had just ballpark 250 early voters. And I would say that that's just sort of on par for the way the primary runs. We may see an uptick this last week prior to. So
Now, absentee voting is shut off, but you can still go in and...
yeah, Thursday is the last day that we can receive the application. So we could still mail you out one, but we have to have it back. Or you have to request it by Thursday, but then it's got to be back. It has to be postmarked by election day. But then there's 14 days after the election for it yet to come in that we have to wait for.
Do you have many?
We've had a lot of absentees. Of course, we track them, and most of them are back already. I mean, just a small few. So. It seems like there's something else, but that's what I know right now.
Well, you can always chime back in.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any questions of Augie?
I saw on the county website where you're needing poll people in Vermillion.
Thank you. That's what it was. Yeah. I've had 3 or 4 regulars, and for whatever reason, they all cannot. And so I have one that did it last year, and she's good. She'll be fine. And one, yeah, I could use 1 or 2.
I think the thing said for qualified people. I don't know exactly what it said, but what do you have to go through some type of training?
You do, and at this point, the training is one-on-one.
Okay.
So yep.
So you're still needing someone then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I really need
Couple.
a couple.
Okay.
And so yeah, and I think what we want to do, maybe it's not the place or the time to mention it yet, but I'm going to. We may want to take a look at raising that rate of pay going into the November election, and I can come back to you July or August, when
Mhm.
things settle down, and give you a sampling of what's going on out there, but. I
What's the current rate?
115.
And what's roughly the hours?
Well, you're there, you show up for work at 5 a.m., polls close at 7, and then you've got 30, 40 minutes,
So 5 to 9,
roughly.
depending on how things go.
I would say 5 to 8 you
8.
should be out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long day. There's
But
no
then
doubt.
someone has to take it to the courthouse.
Yes. And they get a little extra. It's
Okay.
like $10
Okay.
for being a pickup or return judge.
That's less than $10 an hour.
Yeah, it needs to be adjusted.
Yeah.
But see, the state froze the grant money at a rate, my goodness, I can't tell you how many, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, long before I started. So it helps, it helps offset some of it, but they need to take a look at raising what they're going to reimburse also. That would certainly help.
Mm-hmm. Well, this summer, bring that back to
Yep.
us. I think it.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I knew there was something else.
Two things Augie might address. You and I talked about maybe having Bellwether come back in and look at the fee system again. You said it'd been over 5 years, I believe.
Yeah, 13 or 14 it went into effect, the last fee study we did, comprehensive fee study.
So the board needs to decide whether it wants to do that. We have to do a study in order to make it legal. So it's something we should consider, I guess, because it has been,
My
as I said,
goodness.
9 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. Seems like only yesterday, but
Mhm.
I guess we're having so much fun, that's why.
Yeah.
And now the other one escapes me.
Mileage. What's the current mileage for?
We're tied to, we did a travel thing, and it's tied to what the state does. So if the state goes up, we go up.
So it's not based on federal? Like
Well,
55
the
cents?
state,
It mirrors it.
yeah, the state bases theirs on the feds, and then we reflect the state.
Did somebody just raised it just recently?
Well, it was raised in what, January or February from 56 to 58.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll do something here soon.
Yeah.
I called Augie and asked him, and it hasn't done anything yet, so.
Not that I've heard, yeah. Of course, their state's fiscal year starts July 1, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see something increase at that point.
There was something else and it's escaping me now, but we'll come back to it. Are there any questions of Augie beyond what we just did? Carl?
No.
Bill?
No.
Anything on, well, you gave us a report on that already, okay. Lisa, sure you've got a few things.
Just one. And I texted it to everybody except for Carl. And regarding Hopes and Dreams sent to the Prairie Press that posted on their Facebook page that beginning tomorrow, June 21st, the summer food program will be served from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the Tracks Cafe in Paris. The drop-in center will not be a serving site. Ball will continue their best route until further notice. And they have this listed going through July 29th. And I don't know anything other than that. So I thought I'd text them before our July meeting, because that will have given them a few days to see how this is working out. So that's what I know.
So the kids are not going to the Hopes and Dream place, they gotta go to the Track Shack to get their meal?
Right. And originally, the vision was that there would be other activities when they were at Hopes and Dreams, so I'm assuming that that's not happening either.
wouldn't have time.
which is a disappointment.
Yeah.
They're still serving
But they're serving the.
at the rec center,
Mhm.
roughly, what, 70, well, somebody said maybe 75 kids.
Yeah.
So you don't know if, you know, originally that first week we had to figure 5 kids showing up there, you don't know whether that
I
increased or
don't know anything else.
not. So in other words, the bus kid, they're not picking up anybody.
Well,
We've had empty buses, I guess, all I'm going by word of mouth, because I'm not involved in it.
So you make all those stops and nobody,
Right. I don't know what you do about that, if their parents aren't gonna send them, or, I don't know.
They're still gonna make the stops and pick up the 5 kids and take them to,
sounds like one of
They're
those.
gonna continue doing what they've been doing.
okay.
If there's nobody there, there's nobody there.
Yeah, sure.
That's what they were hired to do, I guess. Until somebody says stop. I would continue that for 5 kids. That's a big waste of money.
Mhm.
Anything else, Lisa?
No.
I remembered what I was gonna ask you. Can you comment on where we're at on the tax bill situation?
Thank you, yes. Friday, the Board of Review finished up their work and Dina signed off on all the forms. And so now the taxes are in my office. Of course, it was a holiday yesterday, so we're starting to work on that. We've been working on it, but we could only go so far. But now we're applying the new 2021 rates to all the levies, so we're going through that process. And there's several steps that have to occur, but we are in an ideal world. We're 3 weeks out. That's if everything goes like it should. Because there are steps, and we have to proof our work a number of times along the way. So that's my goal, is get it to Don, and so he can have a couple weeks before he mails it out. What, mid-July, I think we were talking about.
First payment still due in August, second payment due in October, is what we're roughly talking about. Yes, sir.
That's just for all the vacant houses around town that are falling in, are those on the delinquent tax roll? There's like 9 going out on North Main and 9 coming back on Central. Are those on the delinquent tax roll or what?
Well, I can't tell you that exactly. I would assume that those people, I don't know, if they've abandoned
Yes.
their tax obligation, if they quit paying taxes, then yes,
Okay.
it'll come back to us as delinquent. And then if it's not worthy of a tax buyer purchasing it, then it'll go to us, and our tax agent will then try to dispose of it.
Okay, I just wonder, there's so
Yeah.
many of them around town, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but like I said, I can't say for sure that maybe they just let the house go, but maybe I don't know if any of that property somebody may look at a delinquent property differently than I do.
Right, right. I just wondered. It's,
Most likely it will come back.
okay. They've been vacant for a long time, falling in, and they don't mow the yards and all. It's kind of a mess.
That's an
And
issue
that-
everywhere.
Yeah.
I go through Marshall, every house is well kept, the yards are mowed. I mean, you notice that when you go down right through Marshall. Yeah,
Of course, that's a city issue in town.
right, right.
So,
I just wondered. I know the one out on Wood Street, it was delinquent, and they bought it for $812. One had a tree on top of it.
Okay.
I just wondered.
Let's see, airport, the project is restarted today. Open Road is out there finishing up the project. If the weather's nice, it could be done this week. So we're hoping the weather stays good. The piles of dirt, I just want to let you know what's going on there. We've had several people ask if they could have it. We had one farmer volunteered, if we hauled it to him, he'd take it. We said we couldn't do that. We had another company say if we load it, they'd haul it to their place, but I've not heard anything back from them, and neither is Dirk in a couple weeks. If he'd come back, I was gonna ask you what your pleasure on it. The cleanest way, and what I just talked to Dirk about, is we go back to the original plan. The state will reimburse us for the dozer and the operator, and we just level it off and go from there. And that's how we're proceeding, unless you folks have other thoughts on how we should do it.
Yeah, if we level it off, is it gonna be nice and smooth and
Oh, yeah.
reseeded and all
Yeah,
that?
yes,
I assume straight to the north where they go, over the hill.
yep, yes, sir. And there's a little bit of fill out there that's good topsoil and so forth. We leave that pretty much alone for the time being in case we need it other places, okay? All right. You've got a bunch of stuff here. We want to go to the rendering first. We didn't ask, I was a little surprised we got this late last week. We got this on Friday. It's just a rendering. It's not a final, it's not a beginning, it's just gives you an idea of what the building might look like. Don't even know character-wise if that's what we want to do. It's just something to start looking at, okay? You've got a real nice layout of the ground, showing the property lines and how everything sits and what's been surveyed. And you've got a letter in here saying that the let's see, where is it? The geotechnical report has proved that the ground is very similar to the others, so foundation-wise and everything else, everything being equal, there's no issues with foundation or the ability of the soil out there to carry buildings. So that's there for you to look at. There's a new design in the bottom there. When we met last with everybody and the sheriff, we had some things that were an issue. By the way, there's a cover letter on that. I don't know which one it is. Let's see. Anyway, there's a letter on that that says that they haven't shrunk the square footage, but they've addressed the issues that we brought up for an office like of ESDA. Some of the areas that we discussed there are all implemented in this design, but it is still at 25,000 square feet. Okay. We're going to get it, and the kitchen has been revised. We don't have a cost estimate, a revised cost estimate on that, or preliminary cost estimate. We got to be careful about that. So we'll have that soon, but the building's coming in with what's eligible based on what the bond council said is right around 14 mil. Any questions?
Somebody's asking why we don't fix meals here in our jail instead of bringing them from Terre Haute.
That's a question just directed to the sheriff.
Okay.
Don't you think that's?
It's all cost effective.
Yeah.
It's fixed at a, I'm sorry, it's fixed at a prison over in Terre Haute.
I knew that. Yeah.
Right, so And we don't, it's cheaper for us to get the 3 meals. When they bring it over, they've got a hot one and 2 colds,
Okay,
and that's what we
that
do.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I
And
might just ask the question.
Yeah, you'd have to have a couple cooks.
Cooks, right, and buy the food, and food's expensive as hell
Yeah,
anyway.
it's just not feasible.
Yeah, I just-
Financially
somebody
feasible.
asked.
Right,
I just wondered, so.
right.
Other questions so far? I mean, you wanted to get this to you so you have time to look at it before the next study session. I've been talking to Eric and negotiating on rates. Bond counsel, because you'll notice that you've got a, I gotta find it, sorry about
That
that.
doesn't very good.
Yes. You'll see that the bond, this is predicated on 14 mil, and that is at 4.85. But we're trying to discuss that with the bank. The payment on that is roughly $930,000. And then the next page, let's see, I haven't had a chance, we just got this stuff in. The other one is on 10 million and then 4 million, and it shows you what those payments would be. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to take a look at that. And we need to decide how we're gonna proceed. Obviously, we still don't know until the design and having a construction manager involved exactly how much it's gonna cost. So we need to decide whether we're gonna proceed with this and then find out that information and see where we're going. Is that approach amenable to everybody?
I guess I'm gonna bring this up. In the last 10 days, 2 weeks, I've talked to close to 20 people about this specific issue, the jail. Of the close to 20, I talked to 8 current and former members of the Sheriff's Department, as well as the rest of them, just people from the public in general. And not one person was in favor of building this jail, not one.
Yeah.
One said it didn't really make any difference. You know, he's kind of leaning, maybe we ought to, said you got a 100-year-old jail, maybe we ought to think about it. And I pointed out that, you know, part of the jail is 100 years old. Majority of what we're using is not the 100-year-old part. We've got, you know, the one addition is 36 years old. The back where the dispatch is over 20 years old. So, you know, they didn't or I guess they said I didn't realize that. Well, anyway, that one person also said, aren't you under the gun that the state and the insurance is saying you can't operate the way you are? And I said, no, that's not the case. It was, you know, obviously 2 or 3 years ago. They done a good job getting the place fixed up, getting it operating the way it should have been all along. Said, well, if that's the case, why are you even considering building a new jail? I said, well, you know, it's not ideal. You know, there's a few things that we would like different in there, obviously, but and I said, you know, currently we're looking at $15 or $16 million to build, you know, the cost of the jail, potentially. I said over 30 years, that's $30 to $32 million. And I said, wow, you know, they had no idea.
Just like buying a house.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Right.
gonna pay,
Right.
but you need a new house every
Right.
once in a while.
And I said, for the most part, that safety tax money, it'll take the majority of that to build the jail. And I said, you know, over the last couple of years, we've been using the safety tax money we added 4 jailers. We added a couple deputies. The squad cars were junk. We've got new squad cars, and they said, well, that's where we want our safety tax money going to do things like that and not build a new jail. These are just some of the general comments that I'm hearing, but majority of them, they just shake their head. There's no way we need to be building a new jail. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. That's the feedback that I'm getting just in the last week and a half from 20 different, not quite, probably 18 or 19. But I valued the input from the current and former employees of the Sheriff's Department, because they've been there, they know what's going on. I mean, they understand it. They've been there. And obviously, to some degree, I agree with them, because I was there for 25 years. I was sheriff for 12. I understand it pretty well. And I know we've got these figures here on the cost, for the place, but I'm still not convinced that, we're going to have enough money to make it all work out. And then what happens, obviously, interest rates, they're going to be going through the roofs. Recession, it's inevitable that we're going to be coming up. I can remember years ago, Zenith was booming in Paris, and when it left town, things went to heck in the community for several years. And what happens if NAL or, I'm just thinking, for the future generation, I don't want to, I'm just concerned that we lock us in for 30 years at this, and a lot of things can happen over those 30 years. That, the economy and everything, we could come up short. So I just want to be a little careful and maybe pump. I'm not saying let's just scrap it. I'm not saying that, let's keep going, but not just go full board. And
Well,
let's just,
if we don't go full bore, we're not gonna, and I mean,
Right.
not commit to actually building
right,
a jail.
that's.
Well, I'm
that's-
with you
yeah,
100%,
right,
Carl.
Yeah, I mean, getting the property, and seeing, we don't know what, Coles County's doing this study or whatever they're doing. We don't know, this first started out, everybody was all for it, this multi-agency building, and we could get all kinds of free grant money, and, it wouldn't cost us near as much. Well, none of that happened. No one wanted to participate in it. To this point, probably we're going all on our own with this. But, there's a possibility that we might get some grant money to help.
Especially through Edgar.
Right, and that could, if we get $1 million here, or $2 or $3 million, that would lower our costs, And then we might, if that doesn't work out, we might want to, just hold off for a few years and save our pennies.
Why is Coles County involved in this? Involved in RJ?
They got the original grant. Remember, we applied
That's
to
for the,
USDA?
study?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
As far as funding, no,
That's
they're
what
not,
I'm-
they're
no,
not.
They're not, that's right, okay.
but supposedly they're looking in to see if they could give us some grant money and, for,
They're a higher, well, yeah, grant money, but as far as the loan, that's higher.
right,
Yeah.
right. But, I don't know, I just
I've heard the same thing.
think we need to be a little cautious here.
Heard the same
I mean,
thing.
I don't, like I say, I don't want to scrap things, but I just,
Well, I think we need to make some decisions, Carl, in July about where we're going. Because and remember, we're protected on the rates. In fact, if rates fall, we get to refinance, and that's why I think we should, I'm with you on going and taking a look at this and not committing to the final project till we have somebody actually that builds jails say, this is what it's gonna cost you. And if we can't afford it, we can't afford it, then we're gonna have to look for Plan B or make, you know, whatever.
So what would we, if we don't build a jail, what do we do with the safety tax money? Because we won't be using all that to help the old
Right.
jail, will we? I mean, can
Well,
you
we
save
could.
it? Can you put it in a fund or something?
Well, yeah, it's in a fund.
Yeah, I knew that.
And then we're, you know, they're, with the auditor making different recommendations, it's doing it different. We can actually see how much is in the fund versus it all going into the sheriff's department. But, you know, we could use what we need to use for the sheriff's department. The rest is there in this, it's, you know, on that one sheet, the public safety tax fund, 859, I think. And there's 600 some thousand in it right now. 663, or, well, that was a month or two ago. Down towards the bottom.
I know where it's at, I must
Eight.
have the wrong sheet.
Um,
No, I do, sorry, here it is. 667,000,
right,
and that grows every month, so.
right.
The thing we need to look at though is, we need to decide on the bonds in July,
Right.
okay? We need to see if we're gonna.
Decide upon whether we go ahead and borrow.
Right.
And that was another concern from the people is, you know, if you're not gonna, you know, 2 or 3 years from now before you build a jail, then we're gonna be paying interest, make, you know, 1.1 million, or, well, $1 million roughly is what it's gonna cost us every year for paying back on principal and interest.
Well, we're looking at doing a draw account,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't be paying interest.
Till we actually take it. Okay, well, see,
That's
we
what
asked.
I'm negotiating right now.
Okay, because we originally talked about that, you know, once we made the decision,
I don't know whether we can do that or
Yeah.
not. We're,
right,
But-
that would be great.
but see, we don't make our first bond payment until December of '23.
Right,
So
right,
we're gonna be able to,
right,
I guess, stockpile a little bit of funds there. But I mean, a year from now, do you want to take a chance on
Well,
what the bonds are gonna be?
yeah, see,
I wanna go back to 20 years ago when we had a chance and some of the leaders in this community did not go for taking over the camp out there.
right,
We wouldn't be facing the problem. And everybody said the arguments then were just what they are right now.
right,
And look where we're at now. We're looking at how many times the money, how many times the issue. Now, the state is also, we do not meet a lot of criteria for jail, safety-wise, but we're still not ADA, we're still not a lot of things that jail should be, okay? Now, it would take major bucks to put us in shape there. And of course, we did a study early on that, well, should we look at that jail or go to another site? Whatever you believe or don't believe in that study, I mean, we have looked at a lot of options. I'm getting a lot of flack about where we're the jail.
right.
And, you know, and they go, well, you should have done this, and, we did that.
Mhm,
Well, you didn't have any hearings, and I said, we've had 3 hearings,
right,
okay? Nobody showed up in the last one, but, you know, we've tried to do our due diligence. What have we looked at, Carl, 10, 11 sites?
right, yeah,
And there's a lot of factors. I know I hear, well, why don't you go down on High Street and build out there? Well, we have communication issues. We have distance issues. We don't have the connections and the transportation that we do at the site where we're at. Yeah, it would have been great to build the jail right across the street from the other jail, or get the property just north where they're putting the pavilion. But we didn't have those options. I mean, we looked at a lot of different things and what makes the most sense. So, at any rate, I just, you know, if you miss an opportunity in a generation, this is once in a generation opportunity to try to make things happen. It may not work out, but at least we'll have tried. I'm optimistic that it can be. but we'll see. Carl and I are saying the same thing, just in different ways. I mean, I'm not for signing on the dotted line. I don't think anybody is, that we commit ourselves to building a new jail at this point. We can't until we know what the cost of that facility is gonna be.
Living,
Right.
And the last thing I was gonna say, we could always prepay the first year with some of the money we have extra, and we would knock off a big amount of interest,
Right.
okay? Anyway, go ahead,
I
please.
would say, living where I do, 6 miles from what could be the Taj Mahal of jails, I get a different vibe, and I explain that you guys have gone through a lot of study, a lot of drawings. We keep coming back to the table because we're a frugal group, and they get it. It's kind of like with wind turbines. When you got something ugly over there, it makes it a lot easier to understand the issues. But I was also explaining what I learned, what you may have already known about Indiana, and they're changing to have more people stay at the local jail.
Well, they've had that for years,
But they
You're
were
right.
talking about
But-
more,
yeah, it's a different,
yeah.
I don't know, philosophy or just the way they do things compared to
Yeah.
Illinois.
And so and although I wasn't there the whole time for the Vigo thing, what I caught out of that was, if Indiana prison system is gonna keep more folks at the county jail for short-term sentences, well, if it works in Indiana, they're probably gonna do it in Illinois. And then we're gonna have even more of a problem in the future, because we can't take a lot more and keep them here without doing something with the old jail. And so if we don't do something, are we kicking the can?
Well, once we get the upstairs in operation, we'll have 44 beds. And currently we have 25. Of course, last year we had almost 40 because we were having to hold 8 or 9 inmates that was already sentenced. We were sentenced to DLC, and DLC wasn't taking them, so that put us in a bind. But once we got rid of them, we've got things down. Of course, then you got the sentencing, the way, next January 1st, the sentencing guidelines and bail bond and all that.
We don't know how that's
There are so
gonna-
many unknown factors,
Right.
but trying to plan for a future is,
We've gotta be careful with this second story though. The state may come in
Right.
and make us hire another 4 or 5 jailers to make that work. And we don't wanna do that, I mean.
But they didn't indicate that, but anything can change.
Yeah.
Anything can change.
And the new design shows expandability on
Right.
either side, so that we could get up to about 70,
All right.
so. You can make an argument every way,
Mhm.
to fit your needs. I think this is a generational opportunity that they're not gonna look back on us and go, in 20 years or 30 years like we did with the work camp before it fell apart, and go, why didn't they do something then? Now it's gonna cost $60 million, and it's,
I understand that.
so, I don't have all the answers, and we don't all have the answers yet, but we need to find them.
But I think we proceed to continue to get us into position, so when the time is right, whenever that is, that we can grab the opportunity and move forward, whenever that might be.
We need to decide whether you wanna do a 10 million now, or 14 million, and then maybe some later if we need it. I mean, those options still are available, so you need to study those 2 sheets that are attached to that one deal. We need to think about doing an RFQ for an architect for the final design, and for, I think Russ wants to head up the part where the building the outward design. And please, I'm not advocating this one, and I know Russ is, kind of looked at that and, whoa, but, I don't know what their ideas are behind that. But we've got several decisions to make, that are interim decisions that we can move forward on. I did check rates on CDs today. They still haven't moved much, even though the Fed went up 3/4. On a jumbo CD, you're looking at, I think Don, the last one he's got out there, 0.5%. So, 0.5%. But it hasn't moved. And usually, you know, if you go down there and the rate changed last Thursday or Friday and you go borrow money today, that rate's already changed. But if you go down there with money to put in, there's a lag time on that. But,
Well, something I'd like to do is maybe set up another meeting with the sheriff's committee to meet with the sheriff and the chief deputy and Jay and talk about, you know, if for some reason this does work out, you know, what do we do? You know.
well, we can do that. Can we wait till like the second week in July? Is that all right? Or did you want to do
No,
that
I actually would like to do
next
it
week?
before that. Yeah, next week.
All right,
if
we'll
we
see what
can.
I can set up.
You know, because if for some reason we're not going to be able to do this, what do we do? You know, just so we know that can help with our decision making. You know, what if this doesn't work out? How are we going to deal
Well,
with it?
I don't understand the timing because the question doesn't matter until we figure out
Well,
whether
unless we
can do
decide
the other
maybe
one.
it's best to wait. You know, to me,
I don't want to do that. I want to plow.
so you just want to go ahead
I want to go
without
forward
knowing
to-
all of our options.
No, okay, I don't want to go ahead and commit to building the jail. I want to go ahead to proceed to find out if we can build the jail, okay?
Well,
And we can't do that. That's part of our options. If we don't know the answer to that question,
well, can't we do both?
yeah, we can do both, but we're not
So-
gonna find the other answer out for probably another 5 or 6 or 7 months.
The other answer to what?
What the jail's gonna cost.
Oh, correct, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so, I mean, whether or not we know what our other options are, they're not gonna be able to tell us. We'd have to have a design engineers and architects tell us if there's some other way we can go. Are you talking about with the old jail?
Well, just what we've got there.
No.
Not just the, you know, yeah.
We've got a study we've already done on that.
And what did it say?
No, it wasn't feasible to redo the jail because of this, the way the structure is.
Well, obviously, you can't do much of anything because we don't have any room. That's the biggest
I was
problem.
gonna ask, there's no room.
The
to-
bank
And we've
has
got,
locked
and
us,
we're landlocked.
landlocked. I mean, they.
So I guess what I don't understand is, I mean, we can do all the exploring we got, but if we don't answer the basic questions about can we afford a new jail, that's what we need to know.
Well, just so we can afford it doesn't mean that's what we should do.
I think the board is
Well, I'm
not, well,
Well,
you're one person, there's
I
seven.
understand that, and I know I'm up against it.
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
just
I'm not
saying,
totally
I just don't wanna
against
see
it.
any roadblocks thrown out to getting the ultimate answer,
Well, I just think
okay?
we owe
We've
it to
done
the,
that too often over the years.
but I think we owe it to the taxpayers to explore all of our options.
What have we been doing the last
Well-
2 years? We've looked at all kinds of different sites,
Yeah.
we've looked at designs, we've
Right.
looked at properties, we've looked at the old jail, we've looked at staffing. Carl, I mean, I just don't wanna see us dragging our feet to make everybody comfortable.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah, $30 million is a big deal. Right.
Well, and we said at that meeting that we were gonna add staff and build a new jail at the, when we passed the safety tax. Those are the two things we said that we were gonna do.
Okay.
Well, if
Yeah.
you disagree,
I wasn't at the meeting, and I probably wouldn't have been on board with that, but
well,
that's my opinion. Right, and I realize there's 7 of us.
Well, I know.
Right.
I didn't mean to offend you. I was trying to make a point, Carl, and I
I-
know you probably not want to do this totally. But I think that we missed the boat 30 years ago, and we're gonna miss the boat again if we take that kind of attitude. And talking, not that 18 people or 17 people, that's not a scientific deal,
Right.
okay? I run into them at breakfast every morning.
Mm-hmm.
But then I get other people that go, when are you gonna start? Why haven't you started?
Mm-hmm.
And they appreciate that we put on new deputies. We're up to 8 deputies.
Right.
So,
Question,
Yeah.
what percentage of the safety tax funds, did you do it as earmarked 50% to staffing and 50% to saving for the
you mean
facility?
back when we talked about it? No, we
No.
didn't do any dichotomy on that.
Okay.
Currently, if we spend 930,000, that leaves us roughly $500,000 left for the sheriff's department. That's the way it works out. Carl? And if it's more than that, we're not gonna be able to do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, my figures, you know, I know
The
that.
new figures are there.
Yeah, but when I run it, it comes up to almost 1.1 million.
Okay, that's for 16.5. We're talking 14 million now. Because it came to that because the bond council said we couldn't include a bunch of those costs
Exactly.
that were
Office,
included in it.
Right.
And that, those sheets show you
Right.
what it is.
Right.
But we're trying to negotiate those rates down further,
Yeah.
so. And that's what I'm saying, if it winds up being 16 million, we're gonna have to go to Plan B.
Exactly.
And I agree with you, I just think we should proceed, guys and gal, and find out where we're at. Then if we can't do it, we can't do it. We'll go outside.
Nope, I'm with you.
That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I got it.
And I don't know where everybody else stands, but that's where I'm at. Of course, I think everybody knew that to start with. At any rate, are there anything else to discuss about the jail? Please look at that. Call, I'll give you Michael's number if you need to call Michael. I mean, I think the design is, pretty much represents where we're at. And if you want me to set up a sheriff's meeting for next week, I have no problem with that.
I might go talk to them myself and just see what they're thinking, so. Yeah, and if necessary, we'll have a meeting.
Yeah. I'm gonna be going from the 1st through the 8th. So, but I'm open next week, maybe.
Fine.
That's what retired people do. you
Which,
know.
nothing I know of.
I would like, because your committee's done a great job, but I would like to have something more concrete describing our costs for the Vance property before we start. I'd like to just see it. Now, these are the buildings we would have to purchase. This is the estimated cost to demolish them. I just need this paper. Do you have it?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I think you can, this thing here.
The
I can
thing
get you a
is,
copy of it,
Okay.
yeah.
we are under contract by the band school. The contract price was 60,000. We've already paid them 10. And we had an 18-month window, which is, we've got about 11 months left.
No, okay, yeah.
I can get you a copy of that.
Did I already have a copy of this?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay,
Yes.
this is my last packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the total at the bottom?
14.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Because one was 14, the other's 16.
Right. So what, ask a question if you got one.
I was just trying to grasp what our costs were before we ever even actually started, not counting dirt work.
I think, just off the top of my head, it was around 300,000 for acquiring the property and demolition of all 3 sites,
Yeah.
roughly,
75
250, 300.
Plus 140,
Yeah.
plus 150.
Jeff?
200,000 for the properties, and then the demolition,
Demolitions are too expensive.
and it could go up, I mean, I'm not
That's
gonna.
just estimates.
That's 190, so it's basically 390 grand if we decided to purchase all 3 properties. We might not need to purchase one of them. I think the house, which is the least expensive, is almost a need, but that's where we're at. Does that help?
Yeah, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this, 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 just to even get to the piece of property to do something with.
And of course, some of that is billable to the bonds. The house definitely would.
Yeah.
We're talking about probably doing the advanced school with our own funds. That way it makes it eligible for other buildings. Okay? Because you can't spend safety tax money on something that you're gonna put just a regular office building. Okay? Good. I mean, Carl and I pretty much took up this conversation. Do you folks have feelings about that you'd like to express?
Yeah, I'd like to hear.
Yeah, I'd
If
like to
anybody
hear.
has.
Yeah, if you could set it up like an operating note, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, if I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Let me talk as a farmer here. I want an operating note.
Why do we need the court building? Do we need it? Yeah, it's quite a ways away from where the jail's gonna be, right?
The only reason, well, go ahead, Carl, I'm sorry.
Well, one is you have, that's the only access off of Central, or Main Street.
Okay.
And, you know, if at some point in time, we want to build an office building, and if we want to put it on that site, we might need a little extra room.
So you got central, and then you got an access that way. It would clean up this site.
They've got access here, right?
No,
Nope, that's not our problem.
That's Colson.
this is the
They
property
will
line.
sell that.
Here's the little house,
Right.
and then here is the Pepsi, or Coke
Okay,
plant.
we have access on here, right?
Right, you have
Yeah.
access right wherever that is. I think there's 2
Okay,
access
right.
points.
So how, what is this gonna cost extra to buy this building and demolish it?
About 150.
Okay.
That's pretty reasonable, I would.
I just wondered,
No, these are all good questions.
I mean, they have a lot of room to expand here, and this is gonna be their fairly large parking lot right here.
Yeah.
So you got room to expand.
Well, the jail basically will take up
Yeah, the jail's
that
right.
half.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
gonna fit in
And
here.
then the question is, if you end up with an office building, if that's, then
Okay.
basically,
Then you need this done.
yeah.
This is,
possibly.
let's see.
That's things, right?
Yeah.
I just kinda understand why we need this building, which is so far away
This is
from
north.
everything else up here. That's
It's not
all
really
it is.
this far away.
It looks- It looks like it.
Which way's north?
It's a decision we need to make. It's
Yeah.
not a foregone conclusion that we need to buy it,
Right.
but if you're looking at it from the standpoint, should we
Actually,
get it now so it becomes available and control what's gonna happen there?
True.
And if it continues to deteriorate,
Yeah.
not to offend its owners, but then we've got all of this sitting here next
Looks good,
to,
and the rest of them, that doesn't look.
If you're gonna get this done, just get it all now. You'd be surprised down the line what you're gonna need.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've also, you know, if we have to put an antenna out there, you gotta have a location for that. We were talking about a small storage shed like what we've got right over here for the squad cars or
Yeah,
different things,
Okay.
evidence.
you have the opportunity to get it all, that whole block.
It's kind of like building a shed, you get it all. Carl can probably tell you, you build a shed that's 60 by 80 and think, oh, this is great. And you get it up and start using it and go, why didn't I build that bigger?
And then we don't need, but on the other side, we don't need to go nuts. Okay, we got to have a practical reason for doing it. Taxpayers come first on this.
So contingency, when they say plan for contingency, that's what, 30% or some ungodly amount?
What are you talking
Like
about?
when you build a building for all the overruns? And
Oh, well,
Contingency is, I think, 7 or 9%.
Okay, well, I can
Yeah.
almost handle that.
yeah, it's
So,
on,
It's there.
it's on
at the
that,
bottom.
it's on that sheet right there.
okay,
It's at overage in the
overage.
center.
So we can have overage and still be at, theoretically, at 14 million. Okay,
Well, and we don't have the new sheet that shows, they had, what do they show the kitchen and laundry at? It's up on the
Yeah.
top right.
That
we
doesn't-
show it at 826,
And
so
they cut.
we cut quite a bit
Yeah.
out, yeah, you guys cut quite a bit out of that, right?
I haven't got those figures, as I stated earlier.
I just think that at the end, you know, if we say 14 million, we say, it's 14 million, that's the contingency, how y'all gonna fix that? If there's an overage, it's gonna have to come from something within the building, and we're not gonna cheapen up our structure, we're not gonna cheapen up the way it's made. We're gonna paint the concrete.
Oh,
Any comments? Coach?
Oh, I'm getting a little tired of hearing how many times we should have bought the thing out north. I think we have, and I get your position, Carl, just like you, money's important. The same people that you talk to, I mean, you get your opinion. The people that talk to me are the other way. I mean, nobody likes to spend money.
Right.
But they all see the need for a new jail. This guy may say, well, we should have built it here. This guy says, it's just fine. Well, in the end, it's gonna be our decision, and we spent a lot of time on this.
Right.
And I personally want a new jail. I'm tired of looking at that thing and the problems that we've had and the situations it's created for us. It's time to get rid of it. That's just my opinion. I'll always vote for a new jail, and unless it's financially out of impossible, then that's what we're investigating right now. So when we get to the point where you guys figure out financially we can do it, then by gosh, let's do it. I want to be connected with the group that built the new jail, period.
Okay.
If financially we can do it, I don't believe in buying something I can't afford, although I trade cars all the time. But I like new stuff.
The stuff that you're getting the safety tax on, everything's going up 8–10%. So you're gonna get more safety tax money in for a while anyway. We hope the prices of what we buy go down, but that may not happen. So you can figure probably another $500,000 on your safety tax, right?
I don't know whether that's
So
possible.
it's gonna be a pretty good chunk of money.
I'm not gonna think about that, but that doesn't mean what that is a point.
What do you think, Russ? You don't have to, I mean.
You don't have to think. You don't.
I see both sides.
You didn't think of much.
It's unfortunately that I feel the building may have reached the end of its usefulness for updates, costing us more every time they
Well, the only way we can go with
don't
it
like
is
the
up,
way it's
isn't it?
plumbed or
Yeah.
staffed.
It's kind of like the van school, you know, we could use it, but we'd have to spend X amount of dollars, which would be a whole lot less expensive, but we'd have to be thoughtful about it. We could put up a new structure, take that one down for a heck of a lot less money, we believe, than saving the school.
It's
I
kind of
wish
a
I
nice
wish I
little-
had the answer if we do.
And what you
need
do
to
at Vance is still gonna have no building. I
Yeah,
don't care what you do.
and
with it,
that's what
it's
we're
still
gonna have
no
at the
building.
jail, no matter what we do.
The only choice is to go up.
And then when you go up,
You can't-
every floor gets you a new set of jailers, theoretically.
So the use of the old jail, I think, is zero possibility, in my opinion.
I hate to see you losing another old building.
I don't have a problem with tearing them all down. So
Well, there are folks that,
It's starting to look pretty barren.
A lot of people may not want it tore down since it's historic structure, you know, historic structure.
I think you've already destroyed the historic nature of it when you
Just
37 or
looks at it.
38 years ago added to it.
Yeah.
Parked a house trailer on the side
Celebrity
of it.
law.
Yeah.
Where do you, I
I've been
I know
through-
you made comments,
I've
so
been
where are
through tunnel.
you at on this issue?
I don't see that we have a choice but to not build, but the farmer in me says, we better make sure the structure's really solid and I don't care about bells and whistles.
Okay, and I
Right.
think to also say to the farmer that it's not, the funding of this is not predicated on property tax.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
That's a huge, huge important thing.
Right.
Yeah. And the more that we can save in the very beginning to pay on that bond, the better it'll be. I'd rather eat beans for a while and pay on our loan.
Well, you can't eat peanut butter because they took it off of you. This is me off.
Can't
Dan?
afford
And-
soy.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Dan, where are you at on this?
I feel the same way. I'm kind of, you know, tight with my money, as some of you know,
Cheap.
cheap, whatever. I think we need to do it. It just bothers me that, I had coffee at the boys and someone say, when you gonna build a new jail? And some say, why are you building a new jail? So
It's everywhere you go.
you
It
get
depends
pulled
what
one
group
way,
you talk to.
get
We
pulled
just-
second way. So you gotta make up your own mind, which I
Well, you
usually do.
look at all elections
Yeah,
between two
right.
individuals, and it's very rare when you don't have 48, 47 to 52, 53. I mean, that's the way our lives are.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any easier on us. It just puts a spotlight on our stewardship.
No,
When we decide to do this, let's just, if we decide to do it, we're gonna do it, right? Okay, this is then these 7 people right here, we all have to be committed. And you're not gonna go to a group and say, well, I didn't want to, but these 6 guys made me, or whoever we're talking, see, when we do this, we do it as a group, and we support it.
Terre Haute, they got the new jail, I think they're gonna hold 500 prisoners. They said when
495.
They said when to move into the new jail, they're moving in 480 prisoners. It's already gonna be full. I mean, it's gonna be full.
They got a lot more criminals in Indiana.
They ship out 100, yeah.
You
That's
got a
true.
chuckle out of
That's
Gary
true.
on that one.
But they have right
I'm
now,
sure you
have
put that in the paper.
120 prisoners right now that are in other jails, surrounding jails, 120. They asked for another
We've done-
1.2
I think we've done the
billion
best we can do
to pay
with
for
what we
those
have.
people in other jails.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they already spent $1 million. So I'm just saying, what is gonna be our maximum when we get to new jail?
I think it's up towards 65, 70.
So we should be in good shape as far as.
Well, we don't
Well,
know.
you don't know,
I mean, for
we
sure.
could have a big fight at the NAL.
But
again,
that's
or
why we
something
need
like
the
that.
housing. If we have to, and maybe the state, I don't know how they do it in Indiana, but if they mandate that we're gonna do certain things, maybe they'll come across money. If we don't buy certain property, then we can't expand.
Right. And we told them to design it so that we can expand. And it's designed so where the cells are, you go on out further, which would actually be to the north from, you know, on that side.
Or north, east or west end of it, just, I can't picture this in my mind. The whole building would be, you'd add on to the whole building on the north side, or just a section of it?
Yeah, it would be probably the whole side,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's so those.
Depending on how many
all of a
beds you
sudden
would
now, those
need.
properties are thinking a little bit more important.
Right.
Well, so we need to get them now if we're gonna do this, or get them.
But another thing we don't want to lose sight of is, you know, the costs of the roof and elevator and stuff, we don't know what those costs are gonna be.
Was that safety tax money?
No,
That's what I thought.
no,
Oh, that, by the way, he promised me we'd have within the week,
okay,
okay? I said, we can't make some decisions. I
right.
mean, we, at least that's an integral part of what we're gonna do.
You know, and the Prairie Press plays a huge role in this. Thank you so much for quoting things so well.
Oh, well.
That was a good job.
But
Got my
you
cats
really
and all
do
that.
play a big role in this because you
Right.
are really the only conduit for information.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying to be the cheerleader, but you're the only way people are gonna know the facts and get past emotion and sentiment. And, you know, we're talking to farmers a lot, so you know where that's gonna go. And
We're
you're
talking to
talking a
townspeople.
city
Yeah,
where you
city
drive
people,
by it
yeah.
all the time,
Right.
you're more, you see the negatives of what's there, whereas, all I want is to see a deputy more than never.
Right,
So, you know, the perspectives are very different.
well, you know, that was several of the comments that they would like this money going towards more deputies versus a new jail,
Right.
you know.
And you know, we've had the conversation, it doesn't matter how many deputies you put on the road, they're never gonna be adequate, but you still need to have some presence once in a while.
But at the current staffing of 8, that's, it is the most deputies we've ever had in this county. We've never had that many. You know, when I was there, we had 7, including the chief deputy. Currently they got 8 deputies and a chief deputy, so, you know, there are 2 more than when I was there, and that one of our employees was a task force coordinator, and of course back then it paid half of the city paid the salary and half from the county.
Yeah.
Does that cut down a lot on the overtime for deputies, having the extras? Oh, of course I shouldn't ask.
It's still
Okay,
high.
okay, this one.
And I've noticed lately dispatchers has been, first they've had a couple people quit and
Right.
training and everything, so that's part of it.
I got a pee.
Go ahead.
But our facility also can't be ugly. You know, it can't. But I also know you can't do a lot of landscaping in prison either, so. But somewhere along the way, we have to have it, I think, there needs to be some architectural feature to it that ties into the courthouse. There just needs to be something that makes it not look like a Russian prison block, you know, in the middle of town. And I think.
Yeah, because it's on, you know, Main Central, people coming and going, so everybody going through Paris will see it.
Right, there needs to be something attractive about it. And I think that this will be more palatable, maybe because we're not building an office structure right now. Because people are like, you got a place for the treasurer, why are you doing that now? Well, that's not our current immediate need.
Right.
It would be nice, and it would have been great if it worked, but,
And I know the last time we were here with Michael, he indicated that the Treasurer's building is getting to the end of its life. And I spent a half hour this morning talking to Don and Dina about, you know, if there was problems with it, you know, is this place ready to fall down? And they both indicated no. They said it was right at 50 years old, kind of like a pole building. Originally was an attorney's office, then title company, and then the treasurer got it. Martha Reilly, I think, was the first one to move in there. But, you know, they said there's plumbing issues, and they told me what those were, and I said, well, that can be fixed. I mean, that's, you know, you don't build a new building just because you got plumbing issues. It could be fixed. So there's no immediate need to replace it. I mean, that's obvious to me. But, you know, it's something to think about for the future. You know, things don't last forever, just like the 100-year-old jail, but it'll be still standing when the other part that's 35 years old falling down. I'm confident of that, the way things are built. But
when we dismantle it, we just sell every block.
That was Eric, sorry, he missed some of my messages, so we're gonna get together later in the week and talk about some of the stuff we've talked about here.
Dan had to use the restroom.
Oh, okay, oh, I guess that's right.
Beth Hansel will, plan on coming to one of our 2 July meetings.
Oh, she does plan? Okay. Okay.
Are they still in, well, I guess you don't know, involved in,
The fiscal,
no, the meals? Is she still involved with that?
it was
Pretty
Hopes
big.
and Dreams who posted it, the Prairie Press then posted on Facebook, so I don't know.
I talked to Carla the other day at the restaurant. She said, what you said on the message, this is what they're gonna do. So,
Okay, well, you got plenty to look at. Is there anything else we need to discuss this morning? Yes, sir.
have we, picked a replacement for Mr. John McNair on the,
Yes, we did.
okay. Just wondered.
Who was it?
It would be
Was
Dina.
that Dina?
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah, she was
good.
super
She really
good.
wanted to be on there,
She's-
so
she's looking
she'll do a
forward
good
to it.
job.
She's good, I like her.
Good, good do.
Sadly, she's married to Doug, that's one downfall.
I can't believe elections next,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
a week
Well,
from
we gotta
today.
get it over with, I'm getting tired of waiting on our golf trip to get organized, he won't do it until
Till he finds out if he
election's
wins,
over,
he wins or
big
not.
baby.
Well, I'm
Who, Doug?
contributing and all.
Doug, yeah, he's the organizer of our golf trip ever
He's the
since,
good old French lick.
worthless.
I did talk to Doug after the article in the paper,
That was a good article.
and
Really was.
I talked to him about where he stood on the jail. Yes, he does support building a new jail. He just wants to make sure that there's enough money and we balance that so that it can,
Tell him to mind his
For
own
the-
business.
for the deputies. So,
He's not even elected yet, and he's already worried about that.
anything else? Motion to adjourn? Russ moves,
I'll second.
Phil seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Stupid cat of mine, like